So hey guys, back again, and it's time to continue. So let's say that I want to add something. So let's actually, before starting, let's say nav, and I'm going to just give it a background of maybe to. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so this is our navigation. Yeah, you're right. So we have an span here. Okay. Maybe let's say this add a div just to make it a little bit better. I was thinking about that. So let's add a div class, let's say toggler. I don't know, something toggler, something like that. So we can access this. So let's say toggler, and we need to add a period in front of this to say that it's a class. Okay, you can see that. You can actually come back here and say padding 0 pixels and margin 0 pixels. Okay, for the body to be okay, everything all like that. This is not working, of course, but let's add this toggler a padding of 10 pixels, just like that. Let's see how it okay, kinda. And let's say in order to access the span, okay, let's say toggler span, this is going to access the immediate span that is below the toggler that is inside. So this is different from what I showed you before. Okay, so or let's say id nav. Okay, that's better, that's more specific. Id open nav. Let's add a border 1 pixel solid, maybe this grayish. Let's see how that looks. Okay, and let's say padding 10 pixels too. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so let's add here just 12. Okay, to make some space in there. And let's even roll it back a little bit. Okay, so that looks kind of better. Maybe a little darker. So I'm going to start playing with this so you can also play with it. And let's going to add some border radius because it's always good to have some border radius, 10 pixels. Okay, you can see that. Maybe it's too much. 4 pixels. Okay, that's good. And let's say color. So we want the color of the text to be this white. And let's add maybe some font weight that as you type this, it's going to tell you what this thing is doing or what it's going to do. So let's click this one and let's say bold. So this is going to add a bold styling to this. Okay, so you can see that. And maybe the background could be a little so let's click that one and let's make it a little something like a little darker, just to show that it's a button. You can click that. Okay, let's leave it like that. Okay, so that looks kind of better. And let's maybe make it, I just like to make things darker. Just give me a second on this. I usually don't play too much with this, so let's kind of keep it like this. Okay, so yeah, that should be fine. And that is our menu. So one more thing is we are going to add the cursor pointer. So right now I haven't saved this. If I hover this, it's going to show this kind of cursor for text. If I save this and go back, it's going to show the hand. Okay, so that is how we're going to tell the user that this thing can be clicked. So let's keep like that. Let's keep it like that and let's see how that works. Just some kind of styling to make it look a little better. So as I said, we're going to go to create and we're going to add the form. So let's say HTML5. Okay, so let's say create. Let's change the title, create post, something like that. And what we're going to do is come back here to the index and copy all this. Okay, this is what the only problem that you could have with HTML, plain HTML, that you will need for each page to do the kind of the same. So here we are going to have a form. The header, I actually don't have a header there, so let's remove this. Okay, but let's keep it. Let's say create a new post. So something like that. And our sidebar, okay, that is a, I think we're going to add the styling in a second because it's, I kind of don't like how that looks. Yeah. So let's say index, because we're going to go back to index and let's say home here. So everything is going to be the same except for those things that we just changed. So if I go to new post, okay, because I forgot something, we need our this, we need to have our CSS. Okay, so just copy the link and add it, and we are on create HTML, and you can see we have our stylings. Okay, so Google Fonts, and I'm going to use another font, maybe McLaren no, Roboto no, Montserrat maybe, Open Sans. Let's go with Montserrat. Yeah, why not? I'm usually using Poppins. I like Poppins, so you can see how this one looks. So let's say Poppins. I think it looks harder, and I like how it looks. But Montserrat looks softer with rounded edges. So in the you will see. So we need to copy this. Okay, so let's copy it again. It's a link, and let's go to is this one, and let's add it here. Save that, and let's add it to inside our index, okay, as well as our create HTML. And we're going to say font family that defines the font that we're going to use, and it says Montserrat. I think that's how is Montserrat. Yep. And we can add a fallback, so let's say trebuchet. Okay, so you can see it's kind of more rounded instead of Poppins that is more like hard edges. Okay, but I like Poppins. So okay, it's looking better. So let's go and for example, if you don't have Montserrat, it's going to fall back to these fonts. Okay, if the user has those installed. So that's what is going on there. Okay, so let's create actually the form that we need to create inside this main, and we need to add this form tag, not from, form. So we need to add a method. This is how we are going to send information. Okay, so let's say method, we can use get or post. We're going to use post because a get shows the contents of the form here inside the URL, and post hides that, so it's better for these terms. Also, it's more secure. If you are sending form data, the user is not going to see anything in the URL. So you can add it like this, or you can add it like this. Okay, it's just the same, but you will see most of the times add it like this. Okay, just because it's a protocol. So we're going to give this an ID that is create form, and we're going to I'm going to paste just a paragraph. Okay, just to avoid typing that. So let's save this and let's see how it looks. Okay, it looks better with the font. So we're going to add a new input. As I said, you should add labels, but let's just skip those. Title, ID title and placeholder post title, because we're going to use placeholders. Okay, that is, let me save this and show you. Okay, this is the placeholder. You can see that is saying post title inside this. Okay, this is, it's not the best UX that you can do. Okay, the best thing is just to fall back and go with a label and also a placeholder if you can, or if you want, but labels must be there. We're just going to skip those, okay, because with the injection, the DOM injection, we are not going to, or the DOM manipulation, we are not going to add labels, so I'm just going to keep that. So text area, let's say ID content. So this type text, okay, the input can have different types. So the default is text. So if I remove this, it's going to work, but I just like to add it. So, and let's say placeholder also, post content. If everything goes right with these two videos, I'm going to release them for Thursday. So you can start with this while I record the other videos. Okay. So input, type file, and you can provide feedback also. Okay. So I'll be recording the other ones tomorrow and Friday. So if you find an error or something like that, or let me know. So we're going to give this an ID of cover and input. The next input is going to be ID post submit, and the type is going to be submit. So this is what is going to send the form. The value, that is what is going to have inside this button, is going to be submit. So let's say that, let's continue. You can see we have our form. So this is the submit, and we can change this. So let's say enviar, okay, in Spanish. So you can see changes. So you can type whatever you want here, really. So let's say submit, and it changes. Okay, so we can add this. I'm going to move to my other screen because I'm going to select a file just to show you. Just click that choose file. I don't know why I'm selecting one, but to show you that is selecting a file, and just like that, if we click submit, it's going to refresh. Okay, so if we give it an action, let's say action post.html, let's see what happens. Okay, so we are back. I'm going to just add some things. You just fill the form, and I should really clean all this shit that I have on my. Okay, and let's say submit, and you can see it sent us to the post.html because we inside this action we're telling it that Post HTML is going to handle the response, okay? But in this case, we're going to just remove this because we're going to handle the response or the information using JavaScript. Let's add below this inside still the main tag, okay? Let's add this div with ID of although I have emmet and I could add this pretty easily. For beginners, I just decided to type it, okay? I just installed emmet to not type everything from the doc type and the metas and all that, okay? So, you know, just to have the basic structure. So this one is progress handler, and it's just a div that is going to have this paragraph that says processing the request, please stand by, something like that, and let's add, and we're going to have a progress bar, this thing with ID, no, with ID progress bar. The value, we're just going to leave it or empty or 0, okay? I'm just going to leave it empty. And the maximum is going to be 100, okay? So that should be it, and that should work. So we're still in the post HTML, okay? And you can see we have this progress bar, okay? You can style that later, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Just to show you how you can use the progress bar to show the process. And that's it. So we actually need to go back to main.js and continue with what we have. So with HTML, and in order to add functionality, we need to get the reference of the tag or element that we want. So let's get the reference of create form, progress handler, and progress bar. And the way to do that is creating a new constant with the name. So let's say create form equals to document. We're going to use query select, okay? Is that one right? Yeah, I'm not used to do this, okay? Query selector. So we're going to select the ID that we want. The difference between get element by ID that I'm going to use later to show you both ways is that here with query selector we need to specify if it is a class or an ID. This hash pound means that is an ID, okay? So the ID we want is create form, that is the ID we gave to our form. Now let's say constant and progress bar equals to the same document that query selector and the ID of progress bar. The other one is progress handler equals to document that query selector progress handler. Okay, so we have the 3 elements that we want. I think those are the ones. We forgot post submit. That is the submit button that is going to handle the form event. Query selector and the ID is post submit. The same. I'm just adding the same name, okay, because it's just you know, just that you can add whatever, okay, in terms of the name, but I'm just matching the constant name to the name of the actual ID of the element. And we're going to do some things here. So let's go to create, and we have this, but we need to add something else because we are going to use storage in order to save the image. Okay, so let's copy the script on line 49, paste it back on line 50, and change Firebase for storage, and you should be ready to go. So let's continue with this. Let's save this. So we're going to, okay, let me show you something. We have on line 51 our functions main.js on create HTML, and our index HTML we have on line 33 our functions main.js. Okay, we are sharing the same file. That's why we're going to do the next. We need to check if what we're going to access exists. Okay, so if we are on create HTML, the progress handler, the progress bar, and the create form exist, but they don't exist in the index HTML. Okay, so we need to keep an eye on that. It's going to just show you an error, but it's not going to break the application. But let me scroll a bit, and we're going to do the next. If create form is not equals to null, and this is where the last tutorial that I recorded, okay, that I'm actually re-recording, that is this one. Let me show you. I save and just check this. Okay, so I'm going to go to file preferences, settings, font, and I'm going to enable these font ligatures. You can see how it changes. So that's why I decided to remove or to disable the ligatures or ligatures. Okay, because you know, I like how this looks and I know what this is, but if you are seeing this and you are a newbie, you will be like, how can I get this, or why I'm not getting this? It's just adding the symbol. So let's go to file again, preference settings, disable that, and you can see what is changing. Okay, so you should be able to follow along now. So I'm going to edit. Sorry, I'm on my other screen, and just to enable word wrap, and I'm going to do the same here. Okay, so it doesn't go outside of the screen, the text, because this is going to be a little bit too much text. So let's say let d, we are going to create this variable outside of the functionality that we want to make it global, but it's only going to be global for this, okay, this function or this statement, if statement. So we're going to check if this exists, then we're going to say create form, then we can access. If exists, we can access, and we add an event listener. That what this thing is going to do is add an event to whatever element we are selecting. Okay, and this is our create form. So we are going to watch the submit event, and we're going to add a listener. That is another function. We're going to use async and arrow functions. So we're using the latest syntax and the latest features. Async is going to wait, okay, or it's going to allow us to wait for some things before executing the rest of the code. So we add e. This e, if you don't know what is just the shorthand of event. Okay, we're going to access the event, and we're going to say event that prevent default. Okay, that is going to prevent the form to refresh the page, so we can do whatever we want. So let's say if and document, we're going to grab the whole document. So this is a special keyword, document that get element by ID, and this is the other way of accessing an ID. Okay, the ID of an element get element by ID, and the difference is between this and query selector that we just need to add the name of the ID we want. So title, and we need to check the value if not equals to an empty string. So we are checking if it's not empty. We add a logical and, so we append some other behavior to this. So if title and document that get element by ID content, that value, the actual value of the, so we're checking inside this, the value is the same, not equals to an empty string, meaning it's not empty, it has something. We're just going to check some we're just going to perform some validation, you know, some pretty basic validation. And as we go, okay, I just want to start building something for beginners, and as we upgrade or go up, we're going to add more things, okay, for people that are starting with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I know this is even for beginners, this is a little too much, but just follow along and I will try to explain, and you will get how this thing works. So, and you will have, or you will, yeah, you will have the understanding of how to create applications using a database, in this case without a server, but you will understand that at the very least. So it's not equals. So what I'm doing here is that the cover, okay, is actually going to select a file, but when it does select a file, what it's going to do is to have, or is to return us a list of files, okay, so we can actually select multiple files. But right now, even if we try, we are only going to select one. You can click this and try to select multiple. It's not going to work because we don't have that keyword yet, and we are not going to handle multiple in this time, multiple files. But even though we need to select those files that are inside, okay, the file list, and grab the first one, that is what is going to show here. If we choose and select one, that's the file we need to check, and we need to check if it's not empty. And just like that, just pretty simple validation. So now we need to create some variables. So let's say let title equals to document that get element by ID. I'm going to keep using this title, that value. So we need the actual value. So let content is going to be the text area document that get element by ID. Sorry, not text area, but it's going to be the text area, but it has an ID of content. And we also require the value. Let cover, I will show you what this does. So let cover, for you to understand, document that get element by ID cover that files, and the first one. So let's say console.log cover, so we can see that. And just to show you, so what I'm going to do is open this, okay, and move this back to my other screen so I can select an image. So let's say this, open, okay. Now this is only going to show, let's open that again, that it closes, okay. It's only going to show, it's going to console this, but we need to fill the form because we are checking if those things are empty, okay. It's going to check for that, and it's going to return or console.log the cover that is the first file, so you can see what it's doing. And let's say submit, and you can see that we are getting a file named carwis.jpg, and we have all the information here. So we are going to need the name. That's why I'm showing you this. And we have the type. So if you want to add a filter, you can check if cover that type is equal to image dash a JPEG. Okay. If you want to access, or if you want to allow only JPEG or PNG or SVG or whatever. Okay. So you can add a filter like that. And if you want to add it, try it. And yeah, it shouldn't be that hard, even for beginners. Well, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, maybe we could add that later. So let's continue. Now that we have this, just scroll down a little bit, and we're going to create now our constant storage ref that is equal to Firebase. That storage, remember that we have the scripts, that's why we can access the storage and the Firebase. Okay, so we need the reference to the bucket. It's called a bucket, to the bucket that is going to store all the files for us. So we need that reference inside the Firebase project, and storage child is going to be equals to storage ref to that reference, and we need to pass the child the actual file that we are going to, the name of the file, sorry, that we are going to add. So this one is cover that name, because remember that this cover has well, it removes that, has a ton of properties, and one of those is the name. So we are going to add the name. This is going to create the path. Okay, inside this storage child is actually going to create the path using the name inside the reference, okay, of the bucket that we're going to use. So we can say console.log uploading file, just like that, and a constant post cover is going to be equals, let's remove this spacing, it's going to be equals to, let me move my mouse, okay, to storage child that put. So with that reference we need to say put, okay, to actually upload the file, and we need to pass the actual file. So here we pass the name to create the path, and here we add the file that is going to be uploaded. It says, no, it doesn't say that, okay. And now we're going to start with something kind of difficult to understand if you're a newbie. Okay, so we're going to use await. Remember that we're going to use this async keyword here, and this is going to use a certain another keyword in order to wait for the process of the functionality to be done, so we can continue in the next lines, because JavaScript, what it does, and it's going to start reading, okay, the lines one by one, and we need to wait for this, okay, to actually finish. If we don't do that, then it's going to run, and the rest of the code that needs to get what this returns is just not going to find that, okay, because we need to wait for this to download, okay, something. That's why we're going to use the await keyword, sorry, no keyword, keyword that is going to tell JavaScript, okay, wait until all this finishes, and then continue with the next lines of code. So let's say new promise. Okay, so we need to create a promise, a pass resolve here. This is what we're going to use to tell that this promise is done. Okay, so don't worry too much about this. Okay, just follow along. What this promise does is it's going to allow us to wait for the file to be uploaded and to have certain functionality, because remember that we are going to show a progress bar. So let's say post cover that on, and because this is the put that is going to upload, it has an event, so we are going to wait for that event or listen to that event, and that event is going to return us snapshot the bits, okay, that we need in order to display the current process. So we're going to say let progress is going to be equals to a snapshot. Okay, let me move my mouse. A snapshot that bytes transfer divided by a snapshot that total bytes, and all this multiplied by 100. Okay, so that should work. Console.log progress, but we're going to do something that is mat that no floor trunk is going to remove the floating or the decimals, sorry, and we can do that, and it's going to console 0, 1, 50, 90, and all those numbers that you saw before. Now inside this we're going to check if, as I said, since we're sharing the main.js file between index create and also post, that it still doesn't have that, but it's going to add it, then we need to check if progress handler is actually in this file. Let's say it's not equal to null. Okay, if we find that, then we're going to do the same. We're going to say progress handler that style. We're going to change the style. This is how you can change you can change the style using JavaScript, so that style, that display, because this still is showing, but we are going to use CSS to hide this. Okay, and this is going to reset that and to show it using display true. If post submit, as I show you, we need to disable this for the user to not click that again and send another request. So it's going to, if he or she does that, is going to create multiple posts with the same information, and that is going to consume resources in our database, so we don't want that. So post submit that disable, we can access this disabled feature, and we're going to set it as disabled true, so it disables the button. And the progress bar, we're going to check if that progress bar exists, then progress bar that value equals to progress, that is the value that we're going to use here, or we're going to set there, that is going to react on every snapshot. Okay, it's going to, I don't know if you can hear that. It's a car with speakers from a store. So this is going to display the process, and it's going to change the value of the of this progress bar, so we can see that. Now okay, so this I think is inside this. Okay, so this gave me problems before because you might not be used to see this, but if you study more and do more things instead of only beginner things, you are going to see a ton of this behavior. So this is callback. We can call it callback. So if there's an error, we can do something about this. So, but we are only going to console. You can add a new a new element, get its ID, and set show this error using the ID of that element. But right now we are only going to say show me in the console the error, and we add another comma here and we add the complete. So sorry, this is only for promises. So promise can have the resolve. Okay, this is the action that is going to be performed. This is an error. Okay, if there's an error or a rejection, and this is the completed. So when everything is done inside what we told, then we're going to say constant download URL equals, we're going to use a wait again here because we need to wait for a storage child that download get download URL. We need the URL, and I will show you why. The D we have before is going to be equal to that download URL, and we can console that log that variable D, and the resolve is a function that is going to tell, okay, everything is done, we can skip the rest, okay, or everything is finished in line 63, so move outside so you can continue with the rest of the code. So actually this one finishes there, so it's going to continue with what we have below here. So we're going to add that in a second. So let's say constant file ref equals to await Firebase that storage that reference from URL. So this is going to download a URL. It's going to be stored inside this D, and we're going to use that to get the reference of the file inside the storage. Okay. Now we need to add an object that is it's going to be this post, and it's going to have the title. So, well, I will explain this in a second. Content cover. This is an object, okay, and this object has keyword, a key, and a value. So you will see that this is just a key, okay, but this is the same as saying title. Lol, I don't know why there is that title, okay, because this title is going to come from the title we have up here. Okay, so this is what we're using, also the content, but because the title that we are, or the property that we are going to store, it has the same name, then we just skip this and say title and content because those have the same name, and cover doesn't have the same name, so cover is the variable D that we're going to use, and file ref in lowercase is going to be equals, or is going to have the value of file ref, okay, that is this one on line 68. You might think it's the same, but no, it's not the same, because file ref is different. It's all lowercase and this is camel case. But also we need to access the location inside this and the path. So this is where the actual, well, this is only going to get the image. All this is only for if the image was called image JPG, that is what we're going to get, okay? and this is where HTTPS, Firebase, my image, and all that crap. Okay, where Firebase is storing that. Okay, so we are going to show that in a second. We're consoling all this, so you will see that. And we're almost at the end of the video, and also the function. So we can use await again, because now we're going to use this object on line 70 to store the information inside, or sorry, as if it's firestore, to store the information inside firestore. Collection, the collection is like a table. We don't have that, but if that doesn't exist, it's just going to create it. Okay, so it's going to be called or named posts with lowercase. Okay, so the add is what is actually going to push to the database all this information. That's why we store that in an object, because we just need to set post and it's going to work correctly. So there's a handler for this, but I'm not going to use it. There's a handler where you can check if this thing returns correctly and all that, but I don't want to make this more abstract than what it could be only with Firebase. So we're just only going to do the next console.log post added, and we are not going to post added successfully, and we are not going to worry about any error that could happen and all that. Okay, so post submit is not equals to null, because the handler, okay, let me show you, because I always do this. A constant post, okay, is going to be equals to this, and we should be able to say a catch on this, okay, and catch the error. But I don't want to do this because it's going to abstract some things, and let's just wait for that. Let's see what it returns. If it returns an error, it's going to stop our application from working, and if not, it's just going to work as usual. So if post submit is not equals to null, okay, we're already we're checking again for this, because we're going to set it to false. We're going to enable again that, but just in case, okay, just in case something happens. So location, but we're going to redirect first location that replace index.html. This is going to redirect us to the index.html, and just in case something odd happens, that this could be still disabled when we try to access again. It shouldn't happen, but just in case, it's just going to remove the tag of disable, setting it to false, and that's all. So this one is going to have an else that console.log is going to say must fill all the inputs, just like that, because after all that, what we are checking inside this else, sorry, is that all this is actually empty. This if on line 26 is checking if those are not empty. Okay, so let's save this. Let's go back. You can see our form, and I'm going to just select a new image, and Okay, open, and let's say this F12. Let's say first post. This is the first post, and submit. Let's see if that works. You can see that this is matching what we are seeing here. You can add an ID, okay, here, and set the inner HTML to that. We're going to do that later to show you how you can access the inner HTML of something. Now it's working. If I go back here and go to storage, let's wait. Let's wait. It's kind of taking a bit to load everything. Okay, and you can see the image that I just uploaded. Okay, is this website, and if I go to database, it was empty before. Now it has a new collection of posts and a new document. This is the ID of the document, and you can see that. And also, okay, it redirects us, but this is where. So let me just Control C this, copy that. Let's cancel this because I don't want to edit anything, and let's paste that in the URL. And you can see this is where the image is stored. So, yep. Let's close that. And this should be fine. Okay, everything is working. So we will continue. I will record the other ones tomorrow. So I might upload these two, and the rest should be on the next Tuesday. Okay, so I might upload those two on the 7th. Okay, the first video and the second that is uploading, and the next ones should be on the 12th. So wait for those, and see you in the next one.